a big part of me for the last 12 hours. I've been like, it's our fault. It's honestly our fault. Fore-play is by Barstool Sports. We got myself and Trent Ryan, who's coming to you live from Hershey, Pennsylvania. He and Frankie are going to be the presentation boys today, I think. Panel boys. We got a lot going on with all the councilman talk. You guys are going to be on you guys are going to be kind of performative today, I think it sounds like, down in Hershey, Pennsylvania with one of our great sponsors.
Yeah. I'm sitting on a panel today. I've ascended to a point. You mentioned the council, and now I'm on a panel. It's words that I never thought would be a part of my life, but they are. And I am in Hershey, Pennsylvania. For the people at home, if I sound a little different, I don't have my mic with me. So this is a very 2014 Barstool Sports move of me to be recording a podcast without the appropriate equipment. I remember I would do KFC radio back in the day. And before we even thought about having microphones or making the audio sound great, like Kevin would send me a link.
I used to love those shows. I used to love those appearances you made, actually.
I love that show as well, and I still love that show, and I love those guys for giving me my first podcast platform. Like, Kevin would just bring on new hires, and you would talk to John and Kevin for a couple hours. But I never had a mic back then. Didn't even think about having a microphone. And so now that we've come so far and podcasts have come so far, and usually I travel with my mic, but I wasn't prepared to come on today for a couple reasons that I'm sure we'll touch on. But I'm in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's snowing. It was snowing when I landed last night, which was great. Now I live in Florida, I get zero snow, as you would imagine, unless the world really changes. But driving in the snow was great, and it was nice seeing snow during the holiday season. It really scratched an itch that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to scratch this year round. I'm going back to Iowa for the holidays, and I'm hoping that I get some snow. But the fact that I got a little bit in Hershey, Pennsylvania makes me very happy. But yes, long story short, I'm on a panel today with Frankie Borelli, and who knows what can happen.
Yeah, there's so just logistically, we're going to talk about Alistair, but the way this show is going to go is I did a little knee-jerk, quite tipsy solo reaction to everything that unfolded yesterday at Q School Finals with our boy Alistair Docherty, the only Barstool sponsored athlete on the planet, the only Barstool sponsored golfer, and of course comes up one shot short for the second time in the last couple of months. So we're obviously going to talk about me and Trent, to talk about it quickly, but we sort of have this plan because these guys are doing the Hershey thing. Then we're flying down to Florida, and we're actually doing a bunch of really cool TGL things. So I know people have seen those clips from a couple of the players seeing the course for the first time. That clip of Tiger, or the arena, the kind of TGL golf simulator arena, the clip of Tiger hitting a shot is all over the place and looks amazing. We're going down there this week, and we're going to be in the mix there. So we got some really cool stuff coming. But logistically, I was like, oh yeah, Alistair's going to get his tour card. We'll have him on the pod. I can figure out the rest. You guys go be panelists. And then, obviously things didn't necessarily break our way yesterday. And so I jumped on Golf Channel with my dear friend Rich Lerner for about 10 minutes. And we talked Alistair, but we talked a lot of other stuff too, state of the game. And so we're going to throw that in because I thought that was a great clip. We've got all the video from that. And then Trent and I are going to do about 40 minutes here or so. And then we'll throw it to my, again, knee-jerk reaction because I got home. I had a couple hours with nothing else to do. I was either going to play, Call of Duty and probably yell at some 13-year-old teenagers all night, or I was like, hey, Alex, I'm going to just fire up the laptop and do, 30 or 40 minutes knee-jerk reaction to the whole Alistair thing. So we're going to put that in the second half of the show. This episode is brought to you by our great presenting sponsor, Chevy. We're talking the Equinox EV, which helps you get all kinds of distance that you're looking for. It's got an available EPA estimated 319 miles of range on a full charge. Actual range may vary based on several factors. Technology. This thing is all about the new tech, marrying that with the iconic history of the bow tie and Chevy. Equinox EV offers the best in-class 17.7-inch diagonal standard touchscreen display, and the 2025 Equinox EV LT has a starting price around $34,995. Your pricing may vary as dealers, of course, set the final price. It's also got a lot of room. There's a roomy, a no-compromise situation interior with ample cargo room and convenient storage solutions. So go check this thing out at Chevy.com/Equinox EV. product info, lease offers, amazing deals. The Equinox EV accommodates with comfortable seating for up to 5 people. So once again, head on over to Chevy.com/Equinox EV to check out all kinds of information. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. Yesterday, of course, was devastating. Al came up one shot short, airmailed the green on the final hole. I was texted with a couple of friends yesterday because he gets back into town tonight, about what kind of gift could we get Alistair. I said, I'm going to get him a picture frame, 2 pictures of him holding the pose on 18. And then the picture underneath it is going to be screenshot of him hitting underneath the cable tower that's holding up the TV tower behind. And because man, it got me. It was so unbelievably intense to watch it. And he battled his absolute ass off. Obviously not a great start. It was really becoming pretty clear on the back nine what the number was going to be. Then he makes that birdie on 17. He's doing all the parts of golf that are the hardest. He's hitting it a million yards down the middle of the fairway on pretty much every hole. Just couldn't quite make birdies. And then comes up one shot short. And again, I kind of relive the whole thing in the knee-jerk way later, but it was very cool to see all the support, to be honest with you, like to see all of the tweets, all the text messages that we're getting as people that are like tangentially involved with Alistair. And I know he appreciates the hell out of all the support that he got, but seeing how many people were rallying, how many people were saying like, man, it's Sunday football, a big weekend in football, fantasy playoffs and everything. And they're like, I'm watching, golfers that I've never even heard of, and I'm living and dying in every shot. So I did think that part of it was absolutely awesome. And then the other big thing that, we were kind of talking about, I watched with our good friend Andy, who is Alistair's swing coach. And he recently had a baby girl a couple months ago. So his wife gave him the green light to kind of go out, have some drinks, witness Alistair trying to get his tour card. And so we were there kind of living and dying on every shot. But a big part of it afterwards is like, bro, this is the best year of golf you've ever had. You had an insanely impressive year of golf. Everyone knows, including yourself, that you are right there. You deserve it. The harder the golf, the better that you play. This golf course is playing impossibly. You were tied for first going into it. You still finished top 10 easily, finished second place or seventh place solo. And he made life kind of changing for the next several years, amount of money this year. And it's not a funeral. It's like a very much like, oh, this is part of the progression. We're crushing it. We're right there. Keep going. Having said all that, it's like, if he's just one shot better, he's just playing in the Farmers Insurance and the Sony and the Waste Management Phoenix Open and the Arnold Palmer Invitational instead of going down to like Panama and like looking at the canal and trying to grind through the Korn-Ferry-Tour. And so yeah, again, we're going to talk about that, but it was gut-wrenching.
Gut-wrenching, devastating, every adjective you want to use, it's that. And I love Alistair. He's been great to us. And, obviously you and him and Riggs have a great connection. And yeah, it was must-see TV yesterday. And we talk a lot on this show, and we have talked a lot about how do we get through to people the dramatics of how life-changing the Korn-Ferry Tour is and like how crazy these lives are. And unfortunately, we have put ourselves in a position where we shed the light on it, and a lot of credit to Riggs because of how long he's on Alistair, but we really are able to do that in the most devastating way possible. Like we talk about like, man, we want people to know how these things can be life or death. Yeah, it's great watching the PGA Tour, but you're watching, for the most part, especially on Sundays, millionaires competing for millions of dollars and like their lives are okay. We have always been like, how do we show that there's guys grinding their dicks off to try to make it, and it's possible that they'll miss it by one shot? And boy, did we were just showing people that exact scenario. And unfortunately, the guy that it happened to twice is our guy, Alistair. And it's really, I love the kid and I just feel so bad for him. But he has, in a weird way, not only had a great year, but also shown a lot of people what this tour is about and how fucking hard it is to get your tour card.
Absolutely. He really has. And I'm totally with you, Trent. Like, of course, it's the guy that we put in Barstool golf gear. That is the guy that comes up one shot short. It's a big part of me for the last, 12 hours. I've been like, it's our fault. It's honestly our fault. If Alistair was wearing another name on his hat, he just wouldn't be the guy that is finishing. Of course it's our guy. Of course we put Barstool golf fore-play stuff on one human being in professional golf, and he just does what we kind of. It's like, of course, on the golf course, very entertaining, awesome guy, but like just coming up short. And so part of that, I'm like, but then I'm also like, he also just didn't come up. It's like when he got one shot at a PGA Tour event this year, sponsors exemption. Bunch of people went to bat to get that done. There's always controversy about sponsors exemptions. You know, when Steph Curry and these celebrities get put in, right? There's all kinds of bickering about if this guy does it, you're stealing a spot from this. Well, what's he do? He goes out, final round, I think he shot 64, 65 to catapult himself into solo second and make $356,000. He, in the final round of the Q School Championship, shot, I think, another 64 at an incredibly difficult golf course to catapult himself up into tied for second. And he just happened to be tied with enough people where he missed it by a point. But it's like he has proven himself in huge situations. And I will say that was, you know, the Scotty Scheffler has the quote. He's been asked twice. I looked it all up. He's been asked twice in the last 2 years about, you know, the most pressure he's ever felt on the golf course. And both times he has referenced the exact situation that Alistair was in yesterday. He has said the final hole in the final stage of Q School, I had to get an up and down, and it was the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life. And so you just, you know, you practice, you prepare. That's all he's been doing. And it wasn't like he puked on himself. I don't know what happened on the first hole. I imagine he had some funky lie or whatever occurred makes that double. But then from there on in, he had a couple more bogeys in the front, sure. But from the entire TV coverage that I saw, you know, there's guys out there, and credit to this Matthew Riedel character, because it was very funny rooting so hard against them and then realizing on the last hole that it wasn't going to matter. And then I was like, well, now we got to root for this young man. Like, it was very funny. It was because we're like, that ball's in the fucking water on 17. Let's go. We're back. And then it wasn't in the water. And we're like, what a lucky piece of shit. You know, and then we get to 18 and we're doing the math and we're like, actually, we need more than that guy to back up. So then we're like, oh, we got to be rooting for this guy now. And then he gets that up and down and we're like, yeah, good.
Dude, I was traveling all day yesterday and I was watching on my phone, which shout out to Golf Channel. Like, I was just watching it and they were showing a lot of the stuff. I was in the airport when Riedel, he took iron off the tee on that par 5. And I was like, what a loser this guy is.
We were doing the same thing. We were like, coward, screaming at the TV.
But you're right. It does put you in that position. Then once you get to the end, you're like, no, I want that guy to succeed too. I just want Alistair to succeed. And like, it really is a sports watching experience that you really don't get anywhere else.
No, and it teaches you how nervous they are, Trent, that they're pulling irons, dude. These guys, and it also, it reinforces, like we were going nuts about it being like, it reinforces how much Alistair deserves to be there, because he's pulling that mini driver and sending that thing 330 in the air, hitting the fairways everywhere, while other guys are hitting irons trying to just hang on for dear life, which is what I mean. I totally get it. You're trying to do anything you can to get in at T5 or better is the only thing on earth that matters to you at that time. And so,
well, also Riedel was the only guy in his group to birdie that par 5. So credit to him. Even the announcer on the broadcast were like, man, we were dogging this guy on the tee box. And then you play smart and you make a birdie. So yeah, man, I was staring at the ceiling last night just thinking about Alistair, and he's going to be fine. He's clearly an incredible golfer. It's just the one shot thing. Like I would have rather he went out or like came in and at 56 and like just shot 110. And it was like, I was never even close.
We were saying, me and Andy, when Alistair had that chip shot on the par 5 after he kind of fanned that second shot, and I was like, honestly, just blade it in the water here so I don't have to keep doing this. Just blade it in the water, make double, and then it's over. Like, we could turn on football and I don't have to be dying over every shot like this. And instead, you're right. He we were saying like, I bet Alistair outdrove that Riedel on that par 5 by 100-something yards. He outdrove him, and that guy hits it in there to an inch and makes an awesome birdie. So he definitely, everybody that made it deserved it. That course was playing impossible. It's so difficult. You live down in Florida, and Florida is pretty much always windy. It's windy as hell, and it was blowing like 30 or 40, they said, on that Friday round. Alistair played the course that was playing a little bit easier, but still not easy by any stretch of imagination. He fired a 4 under par. I think that day the scoring average on the other course was 5 over par. So that was when he kind of catapulted into the mix. So he clearly He had an insanely good year. We would have signed up for this at the beginning, no doubt about it. I know now, he's the few times I have gotten any signs of life from the young man over the last 12 hours. It's been that all he's pretty much saying is, I'm going to finish number one on the fucking korn-ferry-tour next year. So I think he's pretty locked in, and like I said, I think it'll be a pretty amusing little tipsy knee-jerk reaction second half of the show, kind of going through every single shot. So yeah, awesome that everybody supported it. Awesome, everybody get into it. It's so cool that he's out there wearing our Barstool Golf gear, getting that attention. He looked great. I knew he was going to wear that mock neck. He loves the mock necks. Every time I see him, he's like, what other colors are we coming out with? And when I saw him in that all black mock neck on Sunday, I was like, that's definitely his Sunday fit. And it would have been great to see him out there getting that tour card and celebrating, but it's just prolonging the inevitable, I think. So,
he looked great. It's surreal just seeing the Barstool Golf stuff out there. I mean, I look like a bag of shit when I wear that stuff. So when there's a real golfer wearing it, playing actual good golf, it's very cool. And shout out to him for carrying that torch, and he's going to be just fine.
Golf Zone, the world's biggest simulator brand with facilities in 63 different countries. We talk a little bit of simulator golf this week with TGL. A lot of the footage is coming out from there, and the fact that we're going to be down at the TGL facility doing some TGL related things. Simulator golf is a great time. It really is. I played simulator golf for the first time in quite a while over Thanksgiving when I was back home. And I don't get to play a ton of simulator golf because, quite simply, I've become a bit of a snowbird. I've become, living like a pretty young retired person here in Arizona. And when it's 65 or 70 and sunny every single day for the entire winter, there's not a lot of simulator golf demand. However, when I was back home, it was about 23 degrees. We had 5 or 6 of us in there, and Golf Zone just delivers. They have over 7.5 billion shots hit every year. It's the simulator that we have in the Chicago HQ that has been the venue for several very iconic moments in internet golf history over the last couple of years. 90 million rounds played last year alone on Golf Zone, 4.8 million members. They've got 230 plus courses available. Golf Zone does all the course mapping and flies a drone to map the hills and the floor moves to make the hills. Yes, that's right. Floor moves. They've been making golf simulators with those moving floors since 2002. Over 20 years, over a couple decades, they've been making golf simulators with moving floors. So visit golfzonegolf.com. That's what you need to do. Go find a location near you. Again, they're in 63 different countries. That's a lot of countries. Go check them out. Go find a Golf Zone location near you at golfzonegolf.com.
Question to you. You got your eyes open, Mr. Golf Scout? You seen anybody else? You kind of seeing the board with these guys. I mean, people have been telling the story, and I'm glad it picked up some traction. And I know you were on Golf Channel talking about it. Like, this just kind of happened by happenstance. But brother, you might have the eye. You might have the golden touch.
Do I need to start going to events and scouting some players that are just outside the bubble here? Because I'm kind of one for one. I mean, this guy could golf his ball, and I'm with you, Trent. I don't think that I have much of it. I know we've talked about it with like Frankie before, right? Where Frankie is of the belief that he could truly identify like really good acting, like when he sees a movie and he'll talk about that. And I'm like, I don't know. They all seem like I'm believing everything out there. Every movie I've ever seen, I'm like, these guys are incredible. Like, this is just, is this a reality TV show that we're watching here? This is nuts. And so I don't really think that I have much of an eye, but I will say there's the one thing about Alistair that really does stick out, and everyone around town says this too, is, you can witness players that kind of scrape it around a little bit and have that knack for just scoring. And that's an incredible skill. Absolutely. But I think the hardest thing to do in golf that eventually returns the best in terms of strokes gained and ultimately delivers the best and highest level of golf is really ball striking on the longer clubs and hitting, and Brandel has said this many times that he's, he does it much more articulately than I do. And he backs it up with stats, but he's like, the drive for show, putt for dough thing is just completely false and backwards. And he's like, the way that you save the most strokes in the game of golf is if you drive it longer and straighter than anyone else. And and ball strike your way around, because then even if you're not putting particularly well, you got 15 or 20 feet for birdie every hole. Even if you don't make any putts, you're making pars, you're making birdies on the par fives, and you're shooting a good clean round of golf. If you putt it really solidly, but you spray it off the tee, you're just losing more shots than you would if you were putting it, poorly and driving it well. That's what Alistair does. I mean, we got that great clip of him and Dana Beers at the Barstool Classic from like a month ago, and Alistair doing his yardages and playing, and a couple different clips that came out from that. And I saw him afterwards, and he was like, that was one take, by the way. It felt so good. He's like, I hit like one of the 7 woods, 1 5 wood, 1 mini driver, and they were all roasted on an absolute string. And that's what he does. And that just prevails over time. And so seeing that is kind of when I first was like, oh, I'm just doing some math in my head. How can this guy shoot high scores? Impossible. He just drives it 310, 20, 30 yards in the fairway every time. It's like you're just, and you and I talk about this a lot as guys that can occasionally struggle with the driver. You're much more consistent now than you were and than I am. But, we lose. Well, we talked about it a lot actually last week, how even like distance is now creeping into your mind big time. And it's like
huge.
So much of the golf course is an obstacle for us that if you do what Alistair is, his strength is, you just eliminate a lot of the golf course. Like if you're doing an obstacle course and you were able to just fly with a jetpack over most of the obstacle course, like you'd be way better at it than everybody else. And that's sort of like what he does with golf. He's able to just fly over all of this trouble, and now he's attacking and making birdies. So I think you could kind of sense that when you watch a guy hit it, just be like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I've never seen it enough where I was like, let's sponsor this guy, and then him be literally as close as you possibly can be to the PGA Tour. Like when Alistair inevitably is a member of the PGA Tour, that is something you can hang your hat on. And he's going to do the lion's share of the work. I'll tell you that. He's definitely going to do most of it. But if he makes it, when he makes it, you can be like, I'm 1 for 1 on tour cards. So let me come out and let me see your swings.
I do like when Alistair plays well because I get a lot of taps on the back and it feels really good. So I agree. Let's Al, go keep playing great golf, and then I'll take a lot of credit for it. But you're right. It will be, if he, when he does get out on the PGA Tour, hopefully the recruitment tree will be 1 for 1, and then we'll have to go back to work. We'll have to get some more recruits in there because it's panning out and it has delivered. We don't pay Alistair a ton of money, but we give him all the merchandise. We do absolutely pay him. It helps his bottom line when it comes to income when you're struggling, and we've documented all that. But the amount that man has delivered for us, it's a great storyline. It's so fun that people have been able to latch onto it, especially this year. But even the moments, when he told that whole story about final stage a couple of years ago, and he was trying to get inside the top 40 was all he was doing. That story is absolutely riveting, and he's had people at every korn-ferry-tour event, we all get tagged in tweets where people are out there as fans. There's no one else out there, and they're like, we're following your boy Alistair simply because he's kind of involved with Barstool and the whole deal. So it's been super fun to have him kind of involved, and he's delivered the drama, man. He has delivered the drama. The people that like I had Nico, Joel, Kiz, Mac, like everybody texted, just living and dying on Alistair's every shot. And Colt Nose, man, credit to Colt, was texting me all day yesterday, and Colt was like, dude, I've been there multiple times, and he's like, you got to understand, it is 5 straight hours of feeling like you're going to puke the entire time.
I can't even wrap my head around what that must feel like. But yeah, fortunately and unfortunately for Alistair, he's been like the perfect guy to be out there repping our stuff. So yeah, it's only onward and upward. It's tough. We're less than 24 hours out from what happens. So he's going to be fine. He knows that. I know going to take a little bit probably to get through, but like it's going to be fine. But yeah, just a tough day yesterday.
We got a little PNC action with the Woods. The Woods brothers are going to be out there. Mr. Tiger Woods and his son Charlie will be making yet another PNC Championship appearance. This will be the first time we've really seen Tiger play golf since his latest surgery. He did not look particularly healthy throughout the year at the majors that he did show up in. The beginning of the year, if folks recall, at Riviera, he had the paramedics truck took him, was there to take him off property, and he had a little bit of a stomach issue, a sickness, whatever, but was not moving particularly well. And then just throughout the year, again, didn't look like horrible, but didn't look like he was moving as well as he would like. He ended up revealing that he did have some more, his back really flared up, was really troubling him. So he had yet another back operation of several months ago. We were down there for TaylorMade Media Day, several weeks ago, he was up, he was moving, he was great, but he wasn't necessarily hitting golf shots yet. He didn't play the hero because he said he hadn't been hitting, enough golf shots and wasn't at that right level. The fact that he's playing the PNC is great. It's a great sign. I know that he gets to take a cart. It's much easier. But if he wasn't even going to be at the level where he could go out in the PNC, take a cart, and get through it, that would have been a bad sign. So the fact that he is doing it is a great sign, and it's always lovely right before the holidays, Trent. We get all kinds of good, wholesome content.
Help my memory. Have the Woodses ever won the PNC?
They have not won the PNC. I believe a couple different years. Maybe they finished second.
They get all the hype, and then they don't. They're a bit like the Bills in that way. They get all this hype, and then they don't ever deliver on a level where they're actually going.
Seriously,
that's a good point. That's actually a really good analogy. I never thought of it that way, Trent.
And the Daily crew, I think they've won it. Maybe even the Sings. They're more like the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs because they end up winning it when all the hype is really piled on the Woodses. I think we got to get to a point. I just wanted to take that shot at Alex Bush. I thought about it while we started talking about it, and I just had to shit on the Bills. I know they beat the Lions last night. What a game that was. That was a fun game to watch, but fact of the matter is they still haven't won the big one. And I like the Bills, but I think the Woodses have to win one of these at some point.
Yeah, they do. I it's one of those things like this weekend, it always feels like Charlie Woods is the best under 18-year-old golfer on planet Earth. And then, we see him plays in some of these qualifiers and tournaments. And it's like, I know his high school team, I think they won like the state championship a year or two ago, and he was a big part of that. So it's always tricky to figure out how good he really is for his level. And quite frankly, it doesn't really matter yet. He is kind of getting to that age where he's a little bit older now. He's getting a little bit closer in terms of age-wise to where you might want to be like, all right, what are we looking at here? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I feel like the Kuchers were really good there for a stretch, right? Like, isn't Matt Kuchar's son phenomenal? I feel like he was lighting the lamp out there, and they played with the Woodses one year, and it just was like, this guy's got to chill out. We're trying to go crazy about Charlie Woods, and it was the young Kuchar that was out there lighting it up. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see them out there. They'll have the matching fits and everything. It's a little bit. I think we said this a year or two ago. It's funny how quickly kids grow up, because at first it was really like this adorable little like cub. And then there was Tiger Woods and his little cub out there. And then a couple of years later, it was like Charlie was driving at like 280 and he's in high school. And you're like, all right, well, that happened pretty quickly, which is how growing up works. But it did happen very fast.
No, I'm always excited to watch it. It is a feel good tournament. I hope, it'll be nice to see Tiger play, get a look at how healthy he is. And yeah, it's always just like, it's a must see event just because it's cool. It's a cool event. So I'm excited to watch it, and I'm glad Tiger's playing in it.
Anywhere worth going is worth going in good boots. Find your perfect pair with Tecovas. Tecovas crafts quality Western boots for everyone, from generational ranchers and lifelong cowboys to first-time boot buyers. I have to tell you, I'm very excited about these because there's a couple great boot locations coming up that I will be visiting here in the Arizona area. If anybody knows the landscape here, you go up to Cave Creek. There's a place up there called Buffalo Chip, probably the best bar in the state of Arizona. If you roll in there with a great pair of Tecovas boots, you are popping. And then the other thing, I'm going to do a couple ski trips. I purchased an Icon Pass for this winter so that I could ski with my dad, with my parents. And you got to have a good pair of boots, obviously. Ski boots are one thing. But when you're up there and you go on a nice trip, and you're going to go into a nice establishment in the evening for a little après ski, if you could throw on a high-quality pair of boots, again, you're sending a message. You're sending an absolute message. Born in Texas in 2015, Tecovas makes it easy for anyone to find their perfect boot. Over 200 meticulous steps for broken-in comfort right out of the box. Whether it's a long day or a big night, your Tecovas are built to last and to impress. Right now, get 10% off at tecovas.com/foreplay when you sign up for email and text. That is 10% off at tecovas.com/foreplay, tecovas.com/foreplay. See site for details. Tecovas, point your toes west. Ryder Cup USA players will be getting a $200,000 stipend now, which brings their total, money that they're individually going to be bringing in $500,000 per Ryder Cup. There is a $300K number that they get to designate to whatever charity they would like. And then there's now a $200,000 stipend that they'll have for the first time. Stipend, I believe the way, that's going to, it's a little interesting. Like the $500,000 stipend that they do for the PGA Tour now, I understand because, you could spend an amazing amount of money out there, and that 500K stipend is, if you don't make at least 500 grand, then the tour covers you for 500 grand. This, I mean, it's not like these players are going to be spending any money. It's like, I don't think they spend much money to go play in the Ryder Cup. Maybe they do, but I imagine they've got transportation covered. All their hotel rooms are covered. Their family, maybe they got to spend out of pocket for family. I don't really know how the dollars and cents of it works, to be honest. So I guess it's a little confusing to me that they use the word stipend. Like, why aren't they just getting paid $200,000, appearance fee or something to be in the Ryder Cup? They're calling it a stipend. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand. That's like a per diem. Is that the same thing as a stipend?
I
guess the question is, and this is a story that like I really don't care that much about, and I'm surprised that people care this much about it. I understand why Team Europe did what they did, and we're like, we would pay to play, whatever. How many of these guys do you think donate the whole lot? 500 grand, take the 200 grand. Like, I feel like most of the guys, my gut is that they'll just give the rest of it too.
I think that's probably right. I think that's what Keegan said he's going to do. And the more that I think about it, right, maybe it is, I know like when NHL players go and they're from Minnesota, right, and they go and they play at Minnesota Wild, I know that those guys are pretty frequently like they're out like thousands of dollars in tickets that come out of their pocket because they go back home and they've got 30 people that are family, friends, the whole deal, and they got to pretty much pay out of pocket for tickets. So the more that I do kind of think about it, I could understand if they wanted to. And again, these guys all have plenty of money. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but if you're, I could see in principle if you start, you and your wife or whomever are kind of like starting to set up what your Ryder Cup week's going to look like, and you're like, oh shit, we're going to be out of pocket 35 grand because we're flying a bunch of people up there, we're putting people up in hotels, we're getting people tickets. It's a little bit of like they're making all this money on the Ryder Cup, and I'm like out a bunch of money for that. So I don't know all the logistics of that. True. I don't know. Maybe that's why they're kind of calling it a stipend and whatnot. But I could see them being like, yeah, I'm going to use 50K of this to pay for all my friends and whatnot to all be there, have tickets, hospitality set up, whatever the hell it is, and then donate the entire rest of the allotment. I could see that making sense to players, as crazy as it sounds, because they're all pretty wealthy. But I could see them on principle being like, yeah, I don't want to just shell out thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket when the whole event is based on me.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Maybe they'll do that. It's really been an interesting story that I think is probably hopefully done now. It won't be once the Ryder Cup rolls around, there'll be more talk of this, but like for now, I'm over it.
How are you feeling about expectations walking into this TGL situation this week? Because it's going to be our first time seeing this arena. We've had videos have popped out of some of the players walking in, checking out the arena for the first time. It's like, it is very high tech. It's very new age. It kind of reminds me of some of these, like video game events that I see that the Bushman goes crazy for, like COD tournaments and shit. When I see these guys walking in, what's your expectation level like for seeing this? What is it, the SoFi Stadium for the first time?
I'm expected to be blown away by the screen. I know that those videos came out of Tiger hitting against it. Like I'm very excited to go see the facility. Like they've put a lot of money into this. It's a lot of work. The teams are set. We're pretty close now to when the first match is going to be. I think we are going to be blown away by the technology of the place. I mean, the screen, I don't even know comparably how big it is, but it's bigger than any screen I've ever seen in my entire life. And the fact that it's interactive, you hit golf balls into it. I mean, we've all played on simulators. Those are pretty standard size, and it's cool that it works, but then to blow that out like 50 times the size. I like that it's going to be an arena. There's going to be seating that people can go and watch these matches. My expectation is it's going to be great. It's one of those things, again, like we talk about it with Liv, like regardless of how you think TGL might or might not do, there's people there who are working hard that want to make it work. And I think it's going to be great. Like we're going to the media day. We're going to see a bunch of the guys. We're going to tour the facility. And I think my expectation is it's going to be awesome.
I think so too. And I know my thoughts on the whole thing have really shifted pretty dramatically. And I think it was like, oh, they're going to have some glorified simulator golf. That's kind of like, that's lame. right? That's like pretty fucking lame. And then the more that it's really come out, it's a pretty bold vision to have gotten it to this point, of like, no, we're going to have the most insane simulator screen you've ever seen. We're going to have an actual green that like rotates and is able to accommodate all kinds of different shots and angles and have players truly be able to play their ball out into the hole. We're going to have a legitimate live audience. We're going to have 80 million cameras, whatever the hell they're going to have. And then on top of that, I was like looking, the fact that like Tiger's up there with Homa and Kiz and Tom Kim as like teammates is just right away, like an hour or whatever, a couple hours of them interacting in general, I think would be pretty entertaining. I don't know that I've ever really seen like that crew, that mix entertaining or interacting. And the fact they're going up against another crew and whatever. I guess I'm just higher on it than I expected to be. I think it was easy to make fun of it right out of the gate. I think the TGL people said that as well. They're like, no, we get it. People are shitting on us, being like, oh, you're going to do glorified simulator golf. Now that it's real and the arena is kind of like there and a lot of the gadgets and the tech is there, I'm expecting to be pretty blown away too. It looks pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I'm excited to get down there and see it for sure.
We got a couple from the galleries, Trent, if you want to do it from the gallery or two.
Yeah, let's do it.
Remember, people can email us, fore-play@barstool-sports.com. We get a ton of these, and over the last couple of months, we actually got quite a few good ones submitted, so I'm excited to get through a couple. Matthew says, what's your take on groups playing together that are more than four, that are more than a foursome? What I would say on that real quick is they actually allow this at Greyhawk. They allow you to book a fivesome at Greyhawk, and Travis and the whole crew that runs that place, they always say, yeah, we allow people to book and play as a fivesome. We just say you can't get a hole behind the group in front of you. And they said, never is the pace of play issue the group that's the fivesome ever. And they're saying, essentially, we think the reason that is if you're playing as a fivesome, right away your ass is on the jackpot and that, you've got a little bit of a microscope on you and you instantly are playing with a bit of urgency because you don't want to be the assholes that book the fivesome and hold people up. And they were like, it's never the fivesome that's ever the pace of play issue.
That's really interesting. And I would say I don't really run into, when we play golf, I've never really see a fivesome. Like it's not something that's very common, I feel, but it does make sense to me that a fivesome would move faster because of the awareness that they're a fivesome. That should almost be the standard rule of like, even if you're playing as a foursome, act like you're a fivesome. Just keep it moving. And yeah, I would say if you are playing in a fivesome, just be aware of that and don't be the guy who holds people up. Like that's seems pretty standard to me. I like that. But in everyday golfing, I feel like I don't see groups bigger than four. I feel like that's pretty rare.
Yeah, I know down at Mesa Country Club, which I don't know if folks all know this, but we got some late 2024 good stuff coming at you. And we've got a Joel Damon rematch. And Joel Damon is playing golf right now. He's feeling confident coming off a great finish at the RSM Classic where he had some clutch moments to keep his tour card for 2025. Last time we played him at Mesa was before the redo. It was like 4 years ago. He didn't have his best, especially out of the gate. I think he holds the course record there as like a 58, I think is the number.
Yeah.
And when we played him, he was like over par on the front nine the first match that we did. And then he started to kind of get it together and he pushed it to like the 16th hole, but we were laughing about, it was his brother Dan Damon that's out there. It wasn't Joel. They sent the wrong guy. Well, we rematched him last week and he's playing with a ton of confidence and it was an excellent match of golf down at Mesa Country Club. But the reason I brought that up is Mesa will allow you to play as a sevensome, but you have to play in under 4 hours is kind of the rule.
Is that even possible?
Yeah. I mean, you'd be amazed. Like people are used to it. People are just kind of used to being out there and going rapid fire when you tee off. You pretty much got, while one guy is actually hitting, somebody sneaks in behind him, tees their ball up. As soon as that person makes contact, they step in, they take a swing, and then you're really just got to be pretty generally aware out there so that you don't get killed, so you're not holding somebody up. But it's kind of just rapid fire. You rip through, you do a lot of fun games so that if you're not necessarily going to have the lowest score on the hole and you got a partner, whatever, you kind of know to scoop it and keep moving, which all the handicap police out there would freak out about, I'm sure. But it's all about having fun, keeping it moving. So they let you play as many as 7 down there, which again, I never really see those groups holding people up.
That's unreal. I would just like to watch that just to see how it works. I guess the scooping makes sense, but like, yeah, you got to be like, it's got to go bang, 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 bang as far as when you're hitting. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know that they necessarily are like having people do that at like the 8 a.m. block, but I think as you get later on into the day and whatnot, you see it quite frequently down there, and it's never really an issue. It's like people are just ripping through. If there's a twosome or a threesome behind you, you kind of just let them play through, and it's not that big of a deal. Isn't it funny how the people we love most are often the hardest to shop for? That is very, very true. It's difficult to shop for people. You're trying to be creative. You're trying to get the right thing. You're not trying to get them something that's going to be annoying or is going to be wasted or that they're just not going to really care about, but they're going to have to act like it and lie to you. Nobody wants to have to lie to you. They're going to have to lie to you sometimes and be like, oh, I love it so much when they don't actually love it. Luckily, there's one gift that everyone on your list is sure to enjoy, an Aura digital picture frame named #1 by Wirecutter. Aura frames make it incredibly easy to share unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to the frame. And when you give an Aura frame as a gift, you can personalize and preload it with a thoughtful message and photos using the Aura app, making it an ideal present for long-distance loved ones. It's a gift so special, they'll use it every single day. This thing is awesome. I spoke in this show about getting a nice little gift for my friend Alistair. That's kind of more of a gag gift, but there's a lot of great gifts that you can give with Aura frames. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using our promo code, which is fore-play, one word, FOREPLAY. And that is AURAFrames.com. Promo code fore-play is going to get you $35 off. This deal is exclusive to our listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply. Mitch submitted a question. He said, after listening today, it made me think more about alternate shot. If you're playing an alternate shot match, should you only have to pay for 2 players since only 2 balls will be in play, even though there are 4 of you?
He's concerned about the payment part of it as an alternate shot?
Yeah, he was saying which is actually an interesting point. Like the reason that we play so fast when we do our alternate shot is because you do only have 2 golf balls in play. On any given tee box, it's not 4 people playing. It's 2 people playing, and then the next shot's 2 people playing. So his point is, if you're going to play alternate shot, you're only playing half the golf. Should you only have to pay for 2, basically pay for however many balls are in play? Essentially, was kind of his question, which is pretty funny in its own right. Like I could see somebody arguing, hey, can we just, whatever, pay for that? And then each pay the cart fee or something, because you are going to be riding around in their golf cart all day. But it is kind of a funny question.
That is what it comes down to. Like, how much of what you're paying for when you pay for golf are the shots that you're hitting? Like, are you also paying for the cart? Or are you also paying for the use of the facility? How beautiful you get to be outside. You get to still be on the whole golf course. Like, that would be my argument back to them, is that when you pay for golf, you're not just paying for the shots that you're hitting.
It's a great point. That's an excellent point. We were I had my dad in town this last weekend. We had the father-son event up at Whisper Rock called The Successor, which is like the best, most wholesome event on the planet. It was awesome. We played as like a lot of groups were like eightsomes. And so we're kind of just what we were just talking about, where it's like everybody knows that it's an event. It's going to take 4 or 5 hours. That's not a big deal. Everybody else is also out there with their son or their dad, depending on the different generations. And it's just such an awesome event. Everybody out there being with their fathers. And it was super, super fun. But he said to me at one point on Saturday, he's like, man, people would pay a bunch of money just to hike this area that we're driving around playing golf on.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's a great point.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So essentially, no, you can't just pay for 2. You're paying for a lot more than that, whether it's range access, whether it's driving the cart, even just like it's built into the fact that the turf crew, you think about it here in Arizona, and, Florida is like this to a degree too. But here, especially in the desert, it's like you're driving around all these desert landscapes, and then there's just dozens of acres of perfectly manicured grass that we get to just play a game on. And if it's like, you have a little bit of an imperfect lie, you like bitch and you're upset about it. You're like, no, these guys have to come out here in the middle of the desert and have just acres and acres and acres of perfectly manicured grass. That somebody's got to pay for that shit,
And to your dad's point, people would pay money to just walk Pebble Beach like it's a park. You could just go there, pay $100, and you could just walk on those cliffs. Like, that's worth it. Because golf is, by nature or by design, put on the most beautiful places in the world. So that's got to be part of the cost. That's certainly part of the cost of Pebble Beach. You put Pebble Beach somewhere else, and it's less expensive.
Yep, that's a great point. That's an excellent point. People when you're there that are staying at the lodge and stuff, they don't even play golf. Quite a few of them, and they just do walk around the golf course. I mean, I see people. It's like right at that little crosswalk and road by whatever. It's like the yacht club down there is on where 17T is too. I think that's a good spot where people kind of walk. They then make their way down the fourth hole because that tee and the 17th hole come together. That was where Cam McCormick famously gave me the stare down when that photographer asked me to move, and then I got right in his way. But yeah, you walk that whole area, you go down by 6, and you're like, this. I would pay anything just to have this hike. So the fact that you get to bake that into golf, but I do say people should just do more alternate shot, man. It is such a phenomenal format. And I know I kind of mentioned this like a week or two ago, but a format that we've been doing a bunch in our little Saturday games, which Alistair is a big part of, has been scramble the first ball, 2-person teams, scramble the second shot on every hole, and then alternate shot from there all the way until the ball's in the hole. And it is so much fun. It essentially eliminates kind of the cheesy part of scrambles, which is that like you both get to or everybody on your scramble team gets to just try every single putt, and you're going to like make it because you've seen the read. Whereas it's like, oh, scramble on the first shot, that's kind of loosey-goosey and there's not much pressure. Scramble on the second shot, that's loosey-goosey, not much pressure. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, dude, we've got it. Like, we're playing alternate shot from here on in. So I can't just jam this 15-foot putt and hit it 6 feet by, because if I do, I left you a slide, and so it gets pretty intense. That's another format that I would recommend to people.
Is that a game that exists? Does that have a name, or did you guys make that up?
I actually had never heard of that before. And we played an event down here where that was the format in the member, and it was super fun. And I'd never heard of that before. Brought it to the guys that we kind of play this Saturday game at Greyhawk with, and we tried it once, and everyone was like, this is awesome. And it's also, Alistair was upset because it was the first time he ever really like lost money in our Saturday game. And he was like, this format's bullshit. It totally neutralizes me. He's like, I get, because he's essentially, the way it boiled down was he just never gets to hit his own birdie putts is kind of the way it boiled down.
Yeah, true. Wow.
So
that's
he's like,
I like that format a lot.
He's like, I would stripe one, I would hit a laser in there, and then I would just like not be, and then I would have to tap in the par putt if like my partner just misses the the birdie putt.
If you are playing the scramble, if you're playing that way, the person who you use their approach shot, then the next person has to go.
Yep, and they play the ball down. So you get a club length after the tee shot because you're both playing a scramble, but then after the second shot, you just play the ball as it lies. So if you just miss the green, and you pick that one, then that person's got to hit that chip. And then the next person's got to hit that putt all the way until you hole the ball. And so it does get pretty intense. And like we said, we've been calling it like the Alistair governor game now. It puts a governor on him, and he can't just line us up and kill us in the Saturday game. So it's driving me
crazy. I had a bit of a from the gallery moment. I was playing golf this weekend, and it was brought to my attention that my rangefinder was on meters, which was somehow.
Come on.
I don't know how long it's been. It's a great rangefinder. Shout out to Precision Pro. But I must have just accidentally, because when you hold the button down, it'll switch, as people probably know. But I was the guy in the car with a guy, and he was using it, and we were both using it. And he goes, by the way, this was like the 17th hole, by the way. He didn't bring it up before that. He was like, your rangefinder's in meters. And I've been playing great, so I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means.
I got to tell you, Trent. I remember that when we went to Scotland and everything was in meters, and you played great in Scotland. Remember, we absolutely wiped the floor with Frankie and Lurch that whole week in the travel series?
Am I a meters guy?
I think you're a meters guy, man. You might be European. Or you think you're sneaky European?
How dare you? Don't you ever. What would that mean?
Come on over,
What would meters mean? Does that mean, because I get screwed up with the conversion. So I want to
say it's like 7%. I don't actually know. Meters to yards conversion, 1.09. 1 meter is basically 1.1 yard. So let's go like this.
I'm taking less club when I should be taking more club?
85 meters would be 92 yards.
Okay. So that would mean I'm actually getting less club than I should be technically.
Yeah.
I played fucking great.
Yeah, you're probably never missing. You know what that's probably forcing you to do is you're actually hitting it to the front edge of the green instead of trying to fly it pin high every time. And that might be, that might be strategically you're decade golfing yourself just by a classic M versus Y mix up.
Isn't that something? I actually just wanted to bring it up, and I play better golf, I guess, but also as a PSA, make sure you're checking if your rangefinders are on meters or yards. But also, in my case, it worked out.
Keep that thing on meters, brother. Whenever, if Precision Pro Golf is out there listening, whenever you send us the next version of the rangefinder, just swap the meters and yards feature for Trent so that he thinks that he's in yards the whole time, and then he'll play his best golf.
I really did play great, and it was late in the round that the guy was like, "By the way, I meant to bring this up 15 holes ago, but your rangefinder's in meters." I was like, "Fuck."
Did you have it in meters while we were doing the Joel Damon match?
You see, this is what I don't know. I don't know when it happened. I don't know when it got pressed that way or when it started. I don't know. It's hard to know when it first started.
Because that would be very funny, because I do think about half the holes. Like, you guys arrived first and we play as a scramble, and you guys were like, yeah, it's 114 or whatever. And it'd be very funny if you were just in meters the whole time.
Boy, I don't know if we'll ever know, but that would be something.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, basically it looks like once you get to about 100 meters, it's like a 10% thing is kind of the way that you could calculate it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. All right, Trent, I know you got to go do your panel, and I think that we did, a solid little 45 minutes here combing through a bunch of different stuff. We've got, Bushman, if you want to jump on here real quick, and we can do a classic public meeting on what the folks can expect for our podcast scheduling over the next few weeks. We got a bunch of holidays. We got Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone. There's Hanukkah. There's all kinds of stuff going on. There's going to be New Year's. So all that's coming up. I think what Christmas is and New Year's are on a Wednesday this year. So it's like right in the middle of
that sounds right.
weeks. And so I think we're going to do one show a week, both of those holiday weeks. Is that right, Bush?
Yeah, one show a week. We'll do the Thursday after Christmas and Thursday after New Year's.
All right. So then that means we'll do two shows this week. So we'll have another one that'll come out on this Thursday for everyone. And then the next show after that will be the 26th and then January 2nd. Is that correct?
Yep.
Boom.
So we'll have a show next week, probably live from the TGL setup. That's and right. Then Thursday after Christmas, Thursday after New Year's, with possibly a couple interviews in those.
I think we got a couple names coming on the old podcast here we've never had on before.
I think that's right.
Good names. Yep. People can comb through that as they will. But a little TGL, collaboration down there with some TGLers. I'm pretty excited. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. What we're going to do, we're going to probably throw the Golf Channel, Golf Central chit chat with the iconic Rich Lerner in there, and then you're going to get hit with my Alistair Docherty knee jerk reaction from last night. So big thanks to anybody for listening as always. It's getting into that beautiful time of the year. It's the holiday season, so hope everybody's got a lot of their shopping done safely and they're ready to rock for the next couple of weeks. But that's it from me and Trent. Do a great job on the panel today.
I'm going to do my best. It'll be me and Frankie up there, so literally anything could happen. But shout out to One Bar, shout out to Hershey for having us out. We're very excited for it.
Boom. All right. Hit it hard. We'll see you later.
Hit it hard.
If you ever worry about the safety of your home and family, there's no better time to act than right now. And right now, Simply Safe is extending its massive Black Friday deal. For my listeners, get 50% off a new Simply Safe security system. That is 50% off. 50% off. Simply Safe is the home security that I trust. Have it at my home down in North Carolina for years now, and it's awesome. The app is great. The cameras are great. We can talk to people from the app that are at the front door, whether they're leaving something, whether they look nefarious, whatever it might be. It's been just phenomenal for the house down there, and especially the fact that not there all the time, so we get to check in constantly with Simply Safe. 50% off today, simply by visiting simplysafe.com/foreplay. This is your last chance to protect your home at Simply Safe's lowest prices of the year. Simply Safe is a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. Old school systems only take action once someone is already inside your home. Guess what? That's too late. If someone's lurking around or acting suspiciously, those agents see them in real time with Simply Safe, talk to them directly, set off your spotlights, and even call the police before they've had a chance to actually break in. Simply Safe is extending its massive Black Friday deal for my listeners this week only, 50% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is your last chance to claim their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/foreplay. That is simplysafe.com/foreplay. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
The host of the fore-play podcast on Barstool, Riggs, is joining us now. Brother, good to see you. Riggs, how vicious have the trolls been? And as much as you've helped Alistair, how much is he helping you in that respect with the trolls?
Yeah, it's a grind of a day right now, Rich. It's you're sweating it out. It's one of my best buddies out there playing for his career, so it's tough. Alistair's such a good guy, and it's a very weird feeling where, you root for sports teams, you root for certain players. I'm notoriously a big Tiger Woods fan, and rooting for somebody as a fan is one thing, but rooting for them when they're a really good buddy is it's unlike anything. So I appreciate you guys kind of highlighting Alistair and all the players that are playing for their career, because it's, again, it's one thing to watch people play for the difference between $1 million or $500,000, but man, when these guys are playing for their lives, for their dreams, for their careers, it's just a different level. So I appreciate it. I really do.
What do you recall about that first meeting with Alistair, and then what led you to pony up and put some skin in the game to back him?
Yeah, we had a good buddy, Alex, who was trying to set up a game down at Mesa Country Club, which is a phenomenal spot here in Arizona. And he brought this buddy from the caddy barn at Silverleaf, and I think he shot 63 and cleaned us out, giving me 10 shots. So I thought, well, this guy can golf his ball, and Alistair really likes, when you kind of give him some stakes, he seems to play his best golf. And then, again, you guys have kind of highlighted this, but that grind of kind of the difference between playing at the highest level and being really close to playing at the highest level from a skill level is not that different. But man, from a financial burden, from an emotional burden, it's incredibly difficult for those guys. So when I met Alistair, he pretty much had nowhere to play. He ended up saving up money through caddying, and then put himself through first stage, second stage, third stage of Q school, and battled all the way through. I think second stage a couple years ago, he got through because there were a couple bogeys late. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have gotten through. And then, from there, he's got his mom, who's an absolute angel, who's sort of his momager, as we call her, and she calls herself, who basically sets the budget. And I know Michael Kim on the PGA Tour did a really good job of showcasing how much money he spends just out of pocket each year simply on flights and hotels, and it was about $92,000 or $93,000. And Alistair, having full status on the Korn-Ferry-Tour 2 years ago for the first time, it was going to cost him about $100,000 out of pocket just to exist, just to live, and try to play a full year on the Korn-Ferry-Tour. And so he was going around playing golf with different folks, trying to get sponsors, and that comes with, you're kind of sucking up to people. You're kind of being somebody maybe you don't always want to be. There's attachments that come to it. And I just decided I said, hey, man, you're a great guy. I believe in you. Here's the money. If you can pay me back someday, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. But there's a million different ways that you can spend money in this world. And I think that if you're going to spend it for a really good dude like him to be able to chase their dream, I can't really think of any other better way to do it. So here we are. It's 2.5 years later. And the other thing I would say on that is there's a lot of buddies I know that I could hand money to that couldn't break 130 in a golf tournament. So it really comes down to Alistair being the guy. You can get a lot of people, a sponsor's invite into a PGA Tour event for the first time. Not a lot of them are going to show up and finish second place and make $356,000 like he did. So him having kind of the cojones to step up is really all about Alistair. I think he was going to figure it out eventually. He was on the Palmer Cup in 2016 with Will Zalatoris and a bunch of other players. So he's had the pedigree. He was the top-ranked Division II golfer in the country at Chico State. So it's not like he can't play. He was going to find the resources eventually. I was happy to pony up and make his life a little easier if I could. But it's really all about him, his mindset, his skill set, and the belief. And he's one stroke out right now. So like I said, Rich, we are grinding right here, my friend.
Yeah, it's a white knuckle day for you. Barstool, no laying up. You guys have sort of stormed the media castle in the last decade. And if you haven't quite taken over, then you've pitched tents in the courtyard with kegs of beer. You're having a hell of a good time. You have millions of followers, Riggs, on social media channels. just sort of broad consensus, where do you think they are in terms of how they feel about the professional game? I'm talking about in the upper stratosphere, far from Q school.
Yeah, it's golf has an interesting dichotomy going on right now, where in the recreational side, I think it's healthier than it's ever been. You know, golf was one of the few things that was considered pretty safe to do during COVID. It was outdoor. There's a lot of space between folks, and we really saw kind of a boom in the recreational game. On the professional side, I think everybody kind of thinks it's a little bit of a house of cards. There's all this money going into it. It's not as big as a lot of the major professional team sports in the United States. So I think a lot of folks think it's a little bit inflated. Where's that money coming from? And all they're doing now, they're kind of blaming it on pace of play, but they want to squeeze it down and make it harder for guys like Alistair and all these incredible players that you guys are going to be highlighting on the coverage throughout the rest of today. They're only going to make it harder for those folks to kind of get through in these stories to be able to play out and live their dream. So I think it's a bit inflated. I think it's a little bit of a bubble. I think at some point it's clearly going to have to come together. I think everybody's rooting for that. I think you can see that through Rory McIlroy, who's been an incredible steward of the game, but even he's had to kind of take a back seat and say, I'm just going to let this thing play out. Eventually, smarter folks are gonna hopefully figure it out and get the game to on a professional level where it needs to be. But I understand, you know, there's so much money to be made. We're looking at the contracts that players are signing. Juan Soto's signing in the MLB, and there's no guarantee in the game of golf. That's why, again, we're kind of watching it the way that we are today. You got to go out and earn it. It's a meritocracy. And so it is a little bit tricky in that if there's a bunch of entities making a lot of money on the game, they're making it on the backs of the players, and the players believe that they, you know, should be compensated accordingly. So I understand it. All that's going to play out, but I do think it's a very weird game in that, you know, if you're a huge football fan, you probably don't go out and play football on Saturday and Sunday with your buddies. You watch football all day. If you're a big golf fan, you're working on your game, you're working on your action, you're doing shadow swings while you're pumping gas at the gas station. And there's that weird disconnect between that and what they're watching at the highest level. And I think that needs to come a little bit closer together. And I think it will, but it's just kind of taking a little bit of time.
Riggs, you're on this brand new PGA Tour Creator Council. What is it?
Yeah, I'm a councilman now. And to be honest with you, I don't really know what that means. The way I understand it, the PGA Tour is doing the best that they can to try to reach out to sort of this newer alternative golf media landscape and sort of bridge that gap between kind of traditional golf media and what we do, and whether it's YouTube or social media videos or podcasts. There is a big appetite for golf fans out there to consume golf in a less formal way. And that's obviously different than professional golf. And my favorite TV show in the world is probably Live From coverage during major championships. And you guys do that better than anybody could ever do it. But if you go sit at a 19th hole somewhere, whether it's a private club or whether it's a local public track down the street, a muni, the way that people talk about golf at those settings with a beer in their hand is quite different than what you're going to get in the formal golf media sort of environment. And I think the tour is realizing that. I think the tour has kind of put us together on this council. Some people are addressing me as Councilman Riggs, and it feels good. But I think that they kind of understand that if we can get a lot of these voices that have really worked hard, have really built a following in the world of golf to come together, sort of discuss how golf media going forward can evolve and can blend TV and streaming and YouTube and podcasting into kind of the best product while leveraging what the PGA Tour has. I think it would be crazy not to try that. So I kudos to them reaching out. It's tricky. There's a lot of TV contracts, there's a lot of media contracts that make it very difficult, and we understand that. But I do think that that's sort of their goal with the council, is to get everybody together and try to put the best product media-wise, covering as much golf as we can together going forward.
Golf media struggled just a bit post Tiger. We will see Tiger next week at the PNC Challenge. You've spent a fair bit of time with Tiger. What's your sense, Riggs, of who he is?
You know, Tiger's the reason that I play golf. In the early 2000s, when I was in high school, you know, Tiger made golf cool. This whole generation that you see out there on tour now, a lot of them are inspired by Tiger Woods, and hanging out with him, he's exactly what you would want him to be. He's a golf nut. You can tell he's still got that fire inside of him. He's insanely competitive. but he also likes to be treated like a normal guy. Who wouldn't? I think that's the fishbowl life is not for anybody. Nobody's born to be that way, and he's lived that probably more than anyone. So I think being around him, we kind of just the nature of how we are. We sort of like to break everybody down and treat everybody like they're just part of the crew, and I think he really enjoys that. So getting a good laugh out of Tiger probably means the world, because I'm shaking like a leaf on a tree whenever I'm around that man. But he delivers every time. He's got that big smile, and I think he really does just like to be around people and be treated like a normal guy. I really do.
Yeah. Lastly, our pal Eamon Lynch said he recently hit 13 of 14 fairways dead center at Seminole, has never driven it better. Are you buying or selling a revived Eamon Lynch?
You can't sell that fast enough. There's nobody around to see it. It's ironic that Seminole's probably the place with the least amount of cameras around and footage that gets out ever. So I'll believe it when I see it. But I would really also like to see, maybe if Alistair pulls through and gets his card here, Eamon would admit that I was right about something and pay for a cocktail for once. So that'd be nice.
We really appreciate you, Riggs. Love what you're doing with Alistair Docherty. Happy holidays. Brandon and I will see you at the WM Phoenix Open, otherwise known as the 6-inch Stiletto Open, the greenest show on premium grass. Can't wait. February. We'll see you out in Scottsdale, Riggs.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate it. Let's go, Alistair.
Yeah, take care.
Guys, winter is officially upon us. It is here. You know it. I know it. It's mid-December. Trent speaks on this show about seeing a little bit of snow. He's up in Hershey, Pennsylvania. What better way to welcome the dropping temperatures than with some new sweaters from our friends at Peter Millar? I mentioned in this show that I did have my father in town this last weekend, and believe it or not, it drops quickly here in the desert. It really does. I know these guys were all out here last month for the Barstool Classic Championship, and everybody comments on the fact that by about 3:30, it feels like it's 70 degrees out, and by 4:15, all of a sudden you're freezing and it feels like it's 45 degrees out. Peter Millar is the best in the business for layering, especially in the golf world, the golf game. The Holdridge family of sweaters features a blend of ultra soft merino wool and a luxury performance material that provides wind and water resistance without the bulk of traditional outerwear. That's an incredibly difficult combination to find, and Peter Millar's had it for a long time and does it better than anyone. You want to be warm, you want to be comfortable, yet you still want to be able to swing and be athletic out there so that you can play good golf. Peter Millar and the Holdridge sweater family, they come in 3 different models: a vest, a full zip sweater, and a full zip hoodie. Head on over to petermillar.com/foreplay. Check out the Holdridge family as well as the rest of Peter Millar's sweater lineup. It's that time of year. Be sure to check out their annual holiday gift guide as well for perfect gifts for everyone on your list. That is petermillar.com/foreplay. Okay, big thanks to Golf Channel, Rich Lerner, for having me on. It's very cool that they highlight that story, and it's nice to get into it with Rich. He's a super nice guy. I know he kind of alludes to it before, but luckily through Brandel and through Johnson Wagner and through Eamon Lynch, been able to have a drink or two with Rich at a couple of the different events, the stops after they get off the air, and he's just a delightful guy, and it's cool for someone like me. I've been watching Golf Channel, for my entire adult life, basically. And Rich Lerner with his essays, with that voice, it's very cool being on there with them and them sort of highlighting the whole thing. It's very funny to have, watched that clip before we watched everything unfold. The next clip and the final part of this podcast, I know I mentioned it earlier, but in case you tuned out a little bit, in case you weren't listening to us, I recorded this last night. Was at the bar, drinking a few beers, had a couple Rumpelman shots as we were trying to get through the sorrows towards the end of it. And then after I got home from there, I decided, you know what, why not fire up the microphone and do 30 or 40 minutes or so, just kind of a knee-jerk reaction to how everything unfolded yesterday. So the final part of this podcast is, a couple drinks deep, just reacting to everything and the heartbreak that was the final round of the Q School final stage presented by Korn Ferry. So enjoy this or don't. But hopefully you do. I think it came out pretty funny. We'll see you Thursday. Hit it hard. Been a hell of a day. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's twice this year that I've I felt sick to my stomach on a Sunday night. And, you know, I play a lot of bad golf. If we're going to be honest with each other, play a lot of bad golf. Ton of bad golf. Like an amazing amount of bad golf. Posted on camera all the time, all over the place. Shoot a trillion, everybody. You know, everybody questions my integrity, my honesty, the whole thing. I don't even give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, to be honest with you. Like, whatever. Shoot when I shoot. Try to beat people when I can beat people. And 2-2 against the haters. We posted 4 hater videos this year. It's fine. What I really, in my heart of hearts, I say heart of hearts. That's my college hockey coach, Ted, did. I know that's the way he spoke me. Heart of hearts. What I feel there is fucking heartbreak, man. And I know a lot of people that are listening to this now. You know, I know a ton of people were rooting for Alistair Docherty, and we're living and dying on every shot, which is fucking awesome. You know, it's so cool that this young man has such a following. He's got such a fan base that root for him. But it's a cruel fucking game, man. And I do everything I can to stay so fucking positive and try to stay positive. It's easy for me to stay positive, right? Like for me to send a text, it's like, hey man, you're fucking great. You had such a good year. Woo-hoo-hoo. It's so fucking easy. It's a text message. Couple fucking fire the fingers on the phone while you're at the bar. Easy. For him to stay positive is so insanely difficult and impressive. And, you know, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, our dear Alistair, you know, our great friend, and I say our because fuck me, man. He's been around the whole crew, from Frankie and Trent and their families to myself and my dad and my parents to Bushman and fucking Jonesy and the whole editing crew. I've seen a million videos of him. Jake Marsh, fucking Hank, Henry Lockwood, everybody's fucking texting me. You know, they're all invested as they should be because they've all been around Alistair. He's the nicest guy on the planet. Of course he's the nicest guy on the planet. Fucking Alistair Docherty. And I don't know the stats. I'm not a stat guru. But what I do know is Alistair Docherty from Vancouver, Washington, who he's also a Vancouver Canucks fan. So I don't want you to get all that shit, you know, mixed up. But Alistair Docherty played for an entire year on the korn-ferry-tour this year. He played whatever the fuck it was, 20 events or whatever, right? Flying all over the place. He's flying to South America. He's flying to the fucking canal. He's flying to the Bahamas. He's flying to Texas. He's flying all over the place. All over the place, this guy. And at the end of the year, right, he finishes one stroke out of top 30 to get his PGA Tour card. 2 months ago, final stage. Now, credit to him. He's the fucking best. Humble young man from Vancouver, Washington. And he couldn't have handled it better. He said, look, at the end of the day, you cannot leave your future, your career, up to someone else having to miss or make a shot. True. However, incredibly mature and humble and tough in that situation because there was like a fucking 12-footer and an 8-footer, wherever they were, that like the odds of them both making are statistically fucking shocking, and they both make it. And that means he doesn't get his tour card that close, that fucking close. So then he comes all the way to final stage here. And to be frank with you, I'm sort of a brainless young man at times, and I didn't even think that Mr. Docherty had anything to play for in Q School. Obviously, going into this week, I knew, but I'm saying like a month or so ago, I was like, what's your plan? Are you going to just play in the Bahamas? You're going to try to Monday into some stuff? And he's like, I'm going to obviously go to final stage because if I finish top 5, I get my PGA Tour card. That blew my mind. I didn't think about it. I'm dumb, whatever. So I didn't think about that. So for the last 2 months, since October, since 4 weeks, 3 weeks before Halloween, this young man, Mr. Docherty, has been committed to one thing and one thing only. You couldn't hand him fucking Shake Shack and have this guy not look you in the eye and go, I'm getting my tour card, right? You're like, hey, Alistair, how are you this morning? I'm getting my tour card. Okay. Hey, Alistair, hey, buddy, I got you. You get a little fucking cheese fries here. I'm getting my tour card. Fine, whatever. Get over it, dude. Get a life. Do something else. Anything else, right? Anything else. That's all we talked about. I'm going to get my tour card, right? Hey, Al, did you see the Blues beat the Canucks in overtime? I'm getting my tour card. Fuck you. That's all he said. That's all he fucking said. All he said. It was annoying. Fucking annoying. All right, dude, get a life, bro. Like, fucking talk about something else. And so, this fucking guy, he didn't drink, right? Which, Al's not like a booze bag, but like he likes to have a cocktail here and there. We've had an enjoyable time. Last 2.5 months, not a sip of alcohol. We play the Saturday game. We go out to dinner quite frequently. A little Mastro's Ocean Club, which is fucking close to where I live. I like to buzz in there. People know me. It's cool. It feels like I'm important even though I'm not. So we go in there, fucking hang, and Alice during the whole thing. Not a sip of alcohol down that guzzle of that young man. Nothing. You know why? I'm going to get my tour card. That's all he fucking would say. That's all he would say for 2.5 months. I think the only phrase that he was capable of his vocal cords delivering to another human being in interactual social situation was, I'm going to get my tour card. That's all he said. I cannot express. Express is not the, not express. Express is like the Holiday Inn Express where you go in, you check in real fast, and then you're in your room immediately. Express isn't it. I'm close. Anyways, I cannot stress enough. I can't overly stress. That's all the guy talked about. That's it. I'm going to get my tour card. All right, I'll fucking get a life. Whatever. Let's play Call of Duty. I'm going to get my tour card. Okay, whatever. Fucking guy shows up to final stage. Okay, he's 171 players in the field. Top 5 and ties get their PGA Tour card. He's already got status on the korn-ferry-tour for the whole year next year. He finished second at PGA Tour event, the Myrtle Beach Classic, so he's got a bunch of money in the bank. He's in a great spot. Shows up, shoots one over in the first round, shoots 4 under in the second round. Scoring average on the harder course, which he was not playing, but on Friday it was like 5 over. He shot 4 under on the other course, so he really catapulted himself. Played amazing on Saturday, shot I think 3 under and is 6 under T1. Going in the final round, tie for first place. And then, to be frank, I thought Saturday was going to be the problem child. Like, we've had some bad Saturdays before. And he played great on Saturday. He had an early bogey, I think, and then just went afterburners, see you later, fuck off, -6, T1, second place is 4 under, couple shot lead. All he's got to do is keep that train on them tracks, and this thing is over. And he's had great final rounds. I know people are chirping on Twitter or whatever. He's not, dude, his final round of the final tournament, the championship of korn-ferry-tour, shot 0, basically, and catapulted himself to where he had a chance to win his PGA Tour card. Final round in Myrtle Beach, PGA Tour event after a pretty poor Saturday, shot like 64, bang. Solo second, $356,000. How are you? So we're going to the final round. I'm thinking this guy always said the only words that have come out of his mouth for months are just, I'm going to get my tour card. And then, the first hole is par 5, and he hits a driver, and then he hits something up near the green. He's in this greenside bunker. And then I got to tell you, I'm fucking watching. You can't watch the actual play yet, right? It's not on television. So I'm looking at the tour app, and I'm updating the tour app, and it was like the only buttons they had left on their keyboard were third shot from greenside bunker, fourth shot from greenside bunker, fifth shot. I said, is this Interstellar, the movie, and we're stuck on this fucking planet, and this young man, Mr. Docherty, is never going to get out of this fucking bunker? What is this? What is this? Do I need to go out there and issue a bomb threat to this bunker so that we can get out of this fucking thing? How on earth are we still in this bunker? I've been looking at my phone for what feels like an hour, and we're still in this bunker? We're still in this bunker on fucking 1, right? We're on 1, we're on the first hole. And are we just gonna be in this bunker? Until when are we gonna get out of this bunker? We gotta get out of this bunker. And so we make a fucking double, right? We make a stand-in on 1. And then I jumped on Golf Channel, and I thought, well, we're fucking, we're fucked, right? Like, you can't, everybody's birdieing 1, and we're a par 5 kind of player. And we made a 7. So I thought, we're fucked. We're fucked. And then that young man, Alistair. All right, so hand up. I'm back. It's Riggs, your host. I'm eating a little Chipotle, if we're being honest with each other. I got double chicken, guac, white rice, medium salsa, and it's phenomenal. The reason I bring this up is I just took a couple minute vacation from chitting chatting with you guys. But I'm back. Guac's good for the heart, right? According to AI. So I got a bunch of guac going. And then the rest of it, chicken, ricey. It's a relatively healthy version of a delicious meal. So I'm fucking crushing some Chipotle right now. I really want people to understand what my viewing experience was like. And so, Mr. Docherty shoots a good, solid second round. Phenomenal third round. And he ends up 6 under par, T1, going into the final round. And he's a final round kind of guy. I mean, if you look at his Myrtle Beach performances, if you look at his korn-ferry-tour championship, final tournament performance, final round kind of guy. So I'm thinking, if this motherfucker got through the third round, which he did, playing great, he's T1. All he's got to do is shoot like even par. He's shooting under par all the time because he's so fucking sick. Right? He's fucking sick. He's hitting drivers like you wouldn't believe it. He's hitting mini drivers like you wouldn't believe it. He's striking his ball on Saturday afternoon. The coverage, Shane Bacon, the Bacon man. He's like, this guy's unbelievable. He's hitting fucking, standing up there and swinging free, baby. He's roasting. roasting it off the tee. He's flighting his wedges. He's hitting them. He's coming through them, hitting them exactly where he wants to hit them. He's rolling the rock. When he misses, he barely misses. He's fucking dialed. Dialed. So everyone's like, of course it's good. So I go in the front row. I mean, we're still in that bunker on the first hole. My whole brain, fucking brain, is still in that bunker on the first hole. And I get it. You know, I've been in bunkers for years, right? There's so many bunkers that I'm still in, mentally, emotionally, the whole thing. But my point in this discussion was like, I went into today, which when I'm recording this Sunday night, I went into today, Junior. I went into today thinking we don't take anything for granted in this world. Nothing. Especially in the game of golf. However, if I had to bet, which I do like to bet, I would bet our guy's got this. He's going to shoot 2 or 3 under. He's going to win, or maybe someone will pass him, but he'll be clear. No problem. And then he fucking hits it pin high in 2, and then makes $1 million on the first hole. And I thought, oh, fuck, we're kind of fucked. And so my whole plan, I went to the bar here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I went to the bar with a couple of friends. And one of them was Andy Patnow, who is Alistair's swing coach. And I cannot tell you what it is like watching a young man in Alistair's position play the biggest holes of his life, sitting there, housing truly hard seltzers and unruliness with Alistair's swing coach. Because every swing, he's Tony Romo. He's like, oh, he just didn't quite get through that one. He doesn't trust the yardage. Bang, comes up a couple yards short, which is not much. It's not much. But when you need birdies, it's a lot. And so I'm watching these balls that are in the air. They're right? Alistair Docherty hits fucking every fairway, or he hits it out there like you wouldn't believe. He's hitting this mini driver 300 million yards. So he's got little wedges and short irons into every fucking hole. They're playing par 4s that are 520 yards, and he's got fucking 9 iron in. He's got 8 iron. He's airmail and greens. And so I'm watching. With Andy. And I don't think you could put anything in sports that is close to the all or nothing situation that is what we watched on Sunday afternoon with all of those guys. And credit to all of them that got their card. Incredibly impressive. I wasn't really rooting against anybody in particular. If someone would have doubled and when it meant our boy leapfrogged him and got in, was I rooting for that? Of course I was. I'm human. You're human. You're listening to this. You're fucking human. It'd be fucking crazy for me not to root for that. Of course I'm fucking rooting for you. Are you fucking crazy? I'm fucking screaming at the television screen, get in the water, dude. That thing hung up in the rough on 17. That guy's ball hung up in the rough. He fucking took that shit into the fucking water. I didn't want to, I wasn't rooting for it to go in the shit necessarily. I'm just saying, it's like it looked like that ball, the way that it was struck, path, club face, that combination, I would think, based on the science that I'm aware of, should have resulted in a little white golf ball plunging into the lagoon. That's what I would have thought, but it didn't. And that's fine. It's fine. I'm not saying I was rooting for that. I'm just saying that's like, again, running my scientific numbers, kind of what I thought would have occurred there. And so I'm not sitting here saying I was going to be rooting against people. I was not rooting against people. When our boy gets to the back nine and the picture starts to become pretty clear of, what it's going to take here for us to get our asses onto, probably a little bit more accurate, onto the PGA Tour. Things start to pucker up, and it starts to be pretty clear, right? It's like 3 under was looking pretty good for a little bit, but then wind kind of died down. People weren't really making that many mistakes. A couple of birdies were made. 4 under is going to be the fucking number, dude. 4 under is going to be a number. We're at 2, right? We're making fucking front 9, 40. No, 39. Playing like fucking rigs out there. Fucking double, bogey, no birdies, whatever. So it's looking like fucking. It's looking like we're gonna need some golf, dude, on the back nine. And I thought 3 for a while was gonna do it, but turns out we get about midway through the back nine, we haven't made a fucking birdie to save our life. And it's looking like 4 is gonna be the number. Make the shitty second swing on fucking 16, hit it just short of that bunker, hits a heroic flop shot. The fact that it didn't go in the water is incredible. It's got about 20 feet for birdie, barely misses. Birdie's 17. And that gives us life, dude. It's our first birdie of the day. I told the guys at the bar, I said, look, all you're looking for as a fan is something to fucking root for, dude. You're looking to root for something. Give me some energy, dude. That energy that we're going to project here at this bar in Scottsdale, Arizona is going to resonate, man. That shit's going to get all the way to Jacksonville. BG's got to give it a little bit of time. You got to give it the right energy, the right vibe, the right feel, the right celebration, the right thing. I had my hat upside down, right side out, inside out. I was doing rally caps, non-rally caps. I was changing. I was superstitious. I was a little stitious. I was the whole fucking thing. Just do everything I could. Everything that I could possibly do. And then we birdie 17, and I think, holy fuck. So we go to 18. And the math is clear, It's like, dude, we have to make birdie. And if we make birdie, Alistair Docherty, you're on the PGA Tour. You're playing at Sony in a couple weeks. You're playing Farmers. You're playing Phoenix Open. You're playing, you're playing everything. You're the best. You're the man. Fucking handsome cat. And very good golf player. If you don't, you're going to fucking Argentina and playing for like $8 on the korn-ferry. So it's like, big deal. So fucking hits a 7-wooder, a heaven-wood as we call it. Hits a heaven-wood on 18. And I know why I hit that. A, you want to find the fairway. Gets a little bit narrow up there. And B, he wants to have a full club in because he wasn't feeling great about his wedge distances, which I know because I was sitting next to his coach the whole time, and he was an absolute beauty. So he fucking gets 18. And, we're all thinking, worst case scenario, this young man is going to have a putt to change his life. Let's go. Let's go. And these other guys are fucking slapping it around, right? Like one guy hit like fucking 7-iron off the tee. The other guy hit like fucking 6-iron off the tees in the right shit. Chops it up near the green, whatever. So it takes forever to watch our boy Doc hit his second shot. And once he hits that second shot, he's staring it down. And the announcer says, it's just left of the pin. Just left of the pin. It looks really good. It's on a good line. And this fucking thing ended up in the TV tower over the fucking green. The next shot, the chip that he hit, you could see the steel cable that they used to anchor down the tower was in the shot. It was in the shot of the chip. It was in the shot of the chip. It was in the camera angle of the chip. And so if you think that I haven't already, and I'll text a picture of this to Alex Bush. If you think I haven't already got framed and Alistair gets back tomorrow night, I have already framed. I went to a local framing shop. I've already gotten framed the pose, right? So he strikes, he strikes the second shot on 18, and he holds the pose, right? He fucking flushed right at it. He's thinking, I'm going to have a fucking tap in and change my life, right? So he's holding the pose. And then the next picture underneath it is going to be a screenshot of him chipping from underneath the TV tower with the TV tower anchor cable acting like it's a line that someone drew on an app that shows his swing plane. If you think I'm not getting all that framed and handing that to Alistair upon his return to Scottsdale, you're a crazy person. that is beautiful. Now, did I run into the bathroom and cry? Well, of course I did. Of course I did. The young man cannot possibly be closer to a tour card than Alistair Docherty's 2024 season in professional golf. You literally cannot get closer than he got. He needed one of two people to miss a putt on their last hole of the last event. And he's the first person to tell you cannot leave your fate up to other people. So fine, but they both made it. A 12-footer, an 8-footer, whatever. And then he goes into the final round, 6 under, doubles the first, makes a couple more bogeys in the front, shoots 1 under on the back, finishes 7th alone, and everyone that was T4 or whatever is 1 stroke ahead of him and got their PGA Tour card, and they're all fucking jerking each other off tonight at a party. So, you know,